can take 10p off the cost price, which will help my retail price.
At Waitrose, did you have like a closed pool of vendors? Because you said it anyways narrows down, but
Yes.
was it like always the same 3 or 5 vendors that you worked with or factories?
Yes. So once you, once you pick a factory to work with, it's such a painful process for them to pass all the audits and to go through all the negotiations that you do with them, and that can take 6 months, potentially a year. And once you've done all of that, you then tend to go back and keep giving them business because you've put in all the hard work. So then it's great for that particular factory, but it for any business that wants to start supplying Waitrose, it's a nightmare because then to get in as a new supplier, that process for them is incredibly painful.
And what would you say, how many suppliers would you have in your closed pool? Like, gut feeling.
When I worked in the health and beauty team, we literally just used Hampshire Cosmetics as the main supplier. And it's because the volume of product that Waitrose sells in personal care is really low. So it wasn't worth using a number of different factories. And someone like Hampshire Cosmetics, they produce all the different categories. So they do hair care, bath and shower. They literally do everything. So commercially, it was easier to keep everything with one supplier, and then you have the efficiencies of scale.
From your consultant role now, looking at different customers, is this a usual setup to only have maybe 1 or 2 suppliers, or do you also know about customers who, for example, use 10 plus and have a closed pool of still a large amount of suppliers?
So retailers like Tesco, who had the biggest market share in the UK, they, just because they are so big and they sell so much product, they are forced to have a number of private label suppliers. So someone like Hampshire Cosmetics would not ever be able to produce enough volume for them. So they would either work with one huge factory, but that might not give them some of the niche products that they might want, because a big factory will just do a lot of volume and they won't be able to do some of the more interesting products. Or they'll probably be using 2 medium-sized factories. So Tesco, Sainsbury's, to a certain extent, they are forced to use more factories and split the business between them so that they can physically get enough stock into their stores.
And would you... Okay, yeah, I see. Would you be able to tell me what are like the major elements, looking at Hampshire Cosmetics, what are the major elements in their service offering that actually make you want to work with them? Is there anything which qualified them a lot where you say, okay, it's outstanding, it's a USP, it's...
So with Hampshire Cosmetics, the reason that Waitrose worked with them really closely is that they had all the technical certification audits. They had all of that. So that, in that sense, that was all a given. So they are a really high standard factory. But what made them really special to work with for someone like Waitrose is their ability to do lots of different products, to create something new and very different from the Waitrose competition, which would be the other supermarkets, and to be able to do small runs of products. So, they could do a minimum run of 10,000 units, which in retailing is tiny. And then that means as a retailer, you can launch some interesting products when you want to and not have and not have to do a run of 100,000 units and then have stock sitting in your warehouse for the next 5 years.
Right.
So it's more about the Hampshire Cosmetics, more about their size and then their ability to do all this product development and small product runs.
All right, very clear. I'd like to move on to something where, based on other interviews, we kind of structure the offer of such companies as Hampshire Cosmetics into different segments, and I'd like you to tell us if we're right or wrong about that segmentation we've taken.
Okay.
It's a total